Lesson 20. Original Sin. What happened to Adam and Eve on account of their sin? On account of their sin, Adam and Eve lost sanctifying grace, the right to heaven, and their special gifts. They became subject to death, to suffering, and to a strong inclination to evil. The loss of all these gifts is indicated by the author when he says that they were driven from the garden of paradise. In the sweat of your brow you shall eat bread, till you return to the ground, since out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and unto dust you shall return. Adam and Eve immediately lost God's abiding grace and friendship, their holiness and innocence. They lost sanctifying grace, and therefore the right to heaven, to see God. It might be asked how one sin could have brought about such terrible punishments. It must be remembered, first of all, the first man enjoyed every divine blessing, and in particular a special intimacy with God himself. Therefore, man had every reason for remaining faithful to God. Moreover, his sin overturned the very order of creation. The creature man wished to be like the Creator God. The punishment given man served forcefully to remind him of his creaturehood. Also, our preoccupation with hardship, suffering, and death is conditioned by a kind of materialism. These things are as nothing compared to the loss of God's love and friendship. And God did not exclude the possibility of regaining that friendship. He was still concerned about man. He still wanted man to love him, and he does everything possible to bring man back to him. What has happened to us on account of the sin of Adam? On account of the sin of Adam, we, his descendants, come into the world deprived of sanctifying grace and inherit his punishment, as we would have inherited his gifts had he been obedient to God. Therefore, as through one man sin entered into the world, and through sin death, and thus death has passed into all men. This sin in us is called original sin. It is the state in which every descendant of Adam comes into the world, totally deprived of grace, through inheriting the punishment, not of Adam's personal sin, but of his sin as head of the human race. Original sin does not come to us from Eve, but from Adam alone, since God made him representative and head of the whole human race. Eve was punished for her disobedience, as Adam was, but did not pass on her guilt to all mankind. Our original sin comes from our first father. Because of original sin, heaven was closed to all men until the death of our Lord Jesus Christ. Our Lord instituted the sacrament of baptism in order to restore to us the right to heaven that Adam had lost. A person after baptism is in the state of grace and free from sin. If he dies immediately after baptism, even if he had committed sins, he goes straight to heaven. His sins and their punishment are all forgiven him. What are the chief punishments of Adam which we inherit through original sin? The chief punishments of Adam which we inherit through original sin are death, suffering, ignorance, and a strong inclination to sin. By original sin we became subject to disease and death. This was part of the punishment God laid on Adam. And what day soever you shall eat of it, you shall die the death. Our whole nature became inclined to evil. Our reason is in perpetual conflict with our passions. Even after souls are cleansed of original sin by baptism, the corruption of our nature and other punishments such as sickness, evil inclinations, etc. remain. The imagination and thought of a man's heart are prone to evil. The flesh lusts against the spirit, and the spirit against the flesh. Is God unjust in punishing us on account of the sin of Adam? God is not unjust in punishing us on account of the sin of Adam, because original sin does not take away from us anything to which we have a strict right as human beings, but only the free gifts which God in his goodness would have bestowed on us if Adam had not sinned. All mankind must suffer for the sin of Adam because he was the head and representative of the whole human family. When Alfonso XIII of Spain was dethroned, his children lost their right to the throne through no fault of their own. So also the children of a rich man who goes bankrupt lose all the inheritance they hoped for through no fault of theirs. We should have shared in Adam's blessing of soul and body without any merit of our own, if he had not sinned. In the same way we share his guilt. Was any human person ever preserved from original sin? The Blessed Virgin Mary was preserved from original sin in view of the merits of her divine Son, and this privilege is called her Immaculate Conception. And when the angel had come to her, he said, "Hail, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, blessed art thou among women." From the very first moment of her conception, the Blessed Virgin Mary was preserved from all stain of original sin. She was conceived and born without original sin. God, having ordained that Mary was to be the mother of his Son, could not permit her soul to lack for a single instant all those graces that would make her most pleasing to him. Our Blessed Mother's soul was created as pure and spotless as the soul of Eve. Where Eve committed sin and lost her spotlessness, our Mother Mary kept herself pure and spotless to the end of her life. We commemorate the Immaculate Conception of the Blessed Virgin Mary on December the 8th.